for me okay. Today on the stream, can anything be done to stop Myanmar's anti-coup crackdown? I'm sure that you've seen the headlines, so we're going to go a little bit deeper. If you're on YouTube, you can add your thoughts, your questions, your comments, put that in the comment section, and you can be part of today's discussion. As security forces in Myanmar take on anti-coup protesters, the campaign to restore a civilian government continues. Since the military junta took power on February the 1st, more than 50 people have been killed and hundreds detained, including the civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The growing death toll and allegations of shoot-to-kill tactics by security forces have drawn condemnation and threats of foreign sanctions. Joining me to talk about this, Kin Omar, a Burmese human rights defender living in exile. In Edinburgh, Scotland, Ali Fowl is a journalist who has covered Myanmar for Jazeera and a number of other news outlets as well. And Shin Lays is a pro-democracy activist. She's joining us on the phone from Yangon because of the country's nightly internet shutdowns. Shin Lays, let's start with these internet shutdowns. What is going on? Why are they happening? What difference does that make to you as a protester? 3 questions. Shin Lays, go ahead.
Thank you. So since the coup started with the internet shutdown, and we couldn't share information on the first February, and that keep going on. So after that, we learned we are in a curfew. Not just physical curfew, there is a digital curfew. So every night at starting from 1 a.m. to another morning, like 9 a.m., there is a internet shutdown. So anything can happen within this period. So these days, we've been struggling with the information flowing because there is Facebook ban, Twitter ban, Instagram ban. At the same time, we feel like we've been monitored with our daily communications by the military and the security forces. Not just online, but also physically when we are out on street, in protesting, we need to make sure where are we, who we are with, and at the same time, many activists, they're relocating our locations because of these tightened security risks day by day. So these days, the protest keeps going on the streets. Young activists, we don't give up. Even today, after brutal crackdowns over the last week, but we still see young people organizing themselves in voluntary kind of protests in front of their ward and village tracks, where and there, even in a smaller number, they stay chanting with a full energy. So that's the spirit that we've been witnessing. Even myself as a protester, yesterday was a historic day on the International Women's Day. Many young women are out on street waving their flag, waving their sarong flag. So that was a historic day yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go to Omar. Omar, you are watching this from outside, as an outsider, but somebody who knows what it's like to be protesting and to be pushing back and asking for democracy. How strong is this anti-coup movement, would you say? Is it even a movement?
It's definitely is a movement. It's very vibrant, also involved by the various sector of the society. Also, like age ranging from like 8 years old to 80 years old. And also the protests actually that I have observed are covering like pretty much across the country, like 3/4 of the country's geography is full with these peaceful protesters of like young age and elderly. And because I was actually one of the protesters and also a part of this organizing the nationwide democracy uprising back in 1988. And now I compare where these young people like Shin Lays and also the rest of those students and youth in the rest of the country, as well as those civil servants and public and private sector workers, who joined themselves in this movement called the civil disobedience movement. And I see that the movement right now is much more stronger, much more like a diverse, and also with a lot more like a creativity and in terms of their nonviolence tactics that they are applying, which I even see as a very homegrown, which something that we didn't have that much also back in 1988, because at that time we were the country was under the complete darkness, or under the complete control of the iron fist of the previous military regime, which we didn't have like phone or social media. So we compared to that back then, this is a much more vibrant. But also, like Shin Lays already stressed the point that as much as the social media is quite an advantage for the movement, but also it is the internet and the communications are in hands of this very brutal military junta. So that is already also posing a major threat to the peaceful protesters that I see. Very worrying. Yeah.
Ali, do you have a greater understanding? Can you help us understand what the junta was thinking for this coup from the beginning of February, and how they're handling the pushback from the citizens on the street? What happened?
I mean, I wish I could tell you. In the week leading up to the coup, there were rumours that it was going to happen, because there were signs. There was a military press conference where the military spokesperson said that they wouldn't rule it out. So obviously the rumours were flying, but really everyone I spoke to thought that it wasn't going to happen because it just didn't make any sense. The military have a huge amount of control under the current constitution. They have veto power over that constitution, so it can't be changed. They have a lot of business interests. They're financially secure. They've continued to act with impunity. They've never, ever been held to account for things they've done in the past. So there seemed like absolutely no logic and no reason for them to do it. And the NLD, the Aung San Suu Kyi's government, the government that had just been voted in the 2020 elections, was and is incredibly popular. So they knew that if they did anything like this, it would be an extremely unpopular move, and it would lead to a lot of backlash, which we've seen. And so the only thing I can think of is that it is the power-hungry kind of personal ambitions of Min Aung Hlaing, who was due to retire in July, and who had probably hoped that he might be able to get enough military-backed seats in the November elections that maybe he'd be able to get voted in as a senior position. But when it became clear that was not going to be an option, he thought, well, how else can I hold on to power? It's the only explanation I can think of. I also don't understand and can't explain the pushback from the security forces in the days after the coup. Out on the street, I can't tell you how wonderful the atmosphere was there. Like, there was obviously a lot of fear and tension, but the movement was so big, and there were so many protesters, and people said to people who are old colleagues of Omar, who had been marching with her in 1988, this is different. This is bigger than we've ever seen before. These are people who were there in 88. Then they were saying to me, this is something different. And it did feel hopeful. And then when the crackdown really started, the atmosphere was just so different. And now the brutality that we're seeing coming from the military over the last couple of weeks from the security forces has just spread so much fear. And now there's increasing anger, of course, but just so much tension and fear everywhere. And there just seems to be no logic behind it. There seems to be no end game apart from spreading terror.
I want to show you a little snippet of what it might be like for Shin Lays, who is in Myanmar right now. We have video, Shin Lays, of protesters being surrounded by security forces. We're going to play this video. I know that you were there. What was it like?
It was thrilling. At the same time, it was encouraging, because when the protesters were surrounded by the security forces, then they were not alone. Spiritually, mentally, many people are standing in solidarity with them. So many people are breaking the curfew at 9:30 a.m. or 9:30 p.m. and they were out on the street, gathering themselves, chanting. I saw their faces. Their faces were so concerned about these protesters being locked up. I feel so powerful at the time. Like, oh my God, we can do something. Like, we are making noises to distract the attention from the security forces. And that worked. The security forces follow us. The security forces chase us down, and they put the stand grenades in front of us, and we were all spread ourselves away in such a way that we are eventually given the pressure to the security forces that we don't like this is happening. We know that you are surrounding our people. So this is a clear signal. But at the same time, the international communities, like the embassy issuing different statements out at midnight and all that stuff, eventually at 2 a.m., they have to just leave the areas. And then in the morning, all the protesters were, freely, they were freely going back, returning to their places. So that was such a kind of, a day for all of us. It's such a long day, but I feel encouraged by our own people. We have ourselves. So this is such a motivation for me. Yesterday was a day for me. Yeah.
I'd love you to react to this headline. This is from Reuters, and the headline says, Myanmar army tells the UN it is ready to weather sanctions, an isolation envoy says. So this is the pushback from the military about maybe what the international community is deciding to do. What do you make of the international community's reaction so far to this coup?
I see there are some part of the international community has taken steps into the right direction, such as the United States, for example, like stepping up with a very concrete actions, such as freezing the $1 billion reserve that this military was trying to seize, whereas also the new administration coming up with a further sanction in the individual military generals, as well as now targeting the two military conglomerates, the Myanmar Economic Corporation and Myanmar Economic Holding Limited. And just to go back to Ali's point of how do we make sense of this coup? And like Ali already stressed the point, there is this personal ambition by this Main Aung Hlaing, the leader of the coup. And because he's losing the military power as number one in next few months if he didn't take this coup. But at the same time, it's not only one motive that I actually find also, because, having this commander-in-chief position, he and his family made so much wealth, so much personal wealth out of these two military conglomerates that he and his the military elite club share throughout the past 10 years and before. But also because of in the past 10 years as the country opened up, they had so much opportunities and privileges to seize the moment of the 10 years to have this business relationship established with the western part of the country, the Western world, and and where they are able to procure the military hardwares as much as also the dual use goods. Dual use goods where they can they really get advanced with their the IT technology and all of that, which many of those are being applied and used to suppress the people. So I would say this.
I'm just sorry,
yes.
I'm not wanting to interrupt you, Kanoma. I just also wanted to point out, you're absolutely right. It's that he already has so much wealth consolidated, and there's so much personal money going on in their family. But also, I think he doesn't care at all about international opinion, and I think that that's been made very clear by the actions over the last few weeks, because they've just basically reacted to any kind of condemnation by saying, we'll weather this storm. We've lived under isolation before. We've lived under sanctions before. We don't care. And in the early days of the coup, I feel like lots of people were saying, well, it's unlikely they'll do that because it would look really bad to the international community. And look how far the military have come in improving their image. And even though obviously terrible things were still happening, there was still this kind of idea that the military had conceded power. But their actions recently just show they have absolutely no interest in keeping the keeping the international community on side. And I think that you're right. It's personal wealth and which makes him less personally worried about that kind of thing, but also just an absolute lack of interest in maintaining a good reputation in the international scene, in global diplomacy, and so on.
Guess, let me just play you this analysis from Elena Noor. She is in Washington, D.C., but she's doing political analysis for what is happening in Myanmar right now. Have a listen, have a look.
Boycotts and sanctions haven't worked in the past. And even with engagement, there is always the question of just how much engagement is appropriate without appearing to legitimize the military takeover. Additionally, there is no one single stakeholder that has enough leverage over the Tatmadaw to reverse the coup. Any efforts to pressure the Myanmar military will have to be done in a coordinated and preferably multilateral fashion. And coordination, as we all know, takes time and is painfully laborious.
Shin Lays, I am looking at a picture right now of you holding a flag. You are demonstrating, you are bold, you are in the middle of protesting. Are you hopeful that what you're doing will have positive results? There's cynicism from outside of the country that this coup could be reversed. Shin Lays, go ahead.
So when we are looking at something, what we are doing, we're not just looking at the result, but also we're looking at the process. So this is the process that we are all witnessing and experiencing together, not just ourselves, but also with all of us. You know, there is a power vacuum as we see. There is no one single leader, like big leader, or also at the same time, we all are equally rejecting the military participation in the politics. This is such a rare moment for all of us that we totally reject the military and we don't acknowledge whatever they are saying. Now, they issue different statements, we just laugh at them. They issue laws and we don't take account of them. We are ready to break them. So this is such a rare moment for all of us to have in our own space, talking about our own politics, including the Rohingya, including the ethnic minorities, women, young people were given the equal space for all of us to express our concern for our future and stuff. So I think we are so much benefiting from this whole process. Why protesting on the ground? Why organizing protests? Why doing CDM? We are in solidarity. We are united as never before. So I feel like this is important process for all of us. We are benefiting that. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few days or so, but I think only the political move amongst the political leaders can eventually bring the change, so that our daily protests on the streets and mass protests with the CDM is all important because we are all giving pressure, not just international communities, but also our leaders for different communities, ethnic leaders, and even ethnic and army, also the NLD, the ruling party. We are all giving them pressure, how many bodies you might need to take an action. This is clearly a question that we ask to UN, also we ask to our leaders as well, so that they need to act immediately to get a consensus among them for the future. So, so I think we're all winning, yeah.
I am going to put to you, Ali and Omar, some rapid-fire questions because on YouTube there's conversation happening and they would love for your help to understand this story a little bit more. Nazreen asks, for instance, why is the world silent when such brutal things are happening in Myanmar? Omar, you take that.
Why is the world silent? Is it the question? Sorry.
That is the question.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say that the world is silent, but definitely the top, like the key leaders of the world, the leaders of the world are still silent. The one who are actually able to take the actions, such as like the Security Council. Like the politics within the Security Council, where whenever it comes to Myanmar, Burma in particular, like China and Russia always defend this military regime in the past and until now. I think that's a major problem that we're having. But the wall is actually, I believe it is on the side of the people, whereas the ones who can take the actions are not so much.
This one is for you, Ali. The military has already influenced the government a lot. Why would they have a coup? What would they hope to achieve?
I think that it really comes down to just being power hungry. As I mentioned before, the only thing that I see them achieving is just the absolute lack of flexibility and freedoms, and just having things absolutely in their way and total control. The only other explanation, which I hope is not true, but is becoming closer to my belief recently, is that they are sadistic and that they enjoy seeing people suffering. But I feel like that's just too depressing a thought to think, but that's how it feels, and certainly how it feels on the streets of Myanmar. I only left a few days ago, and it feels like there is an active cruelty with no real goal at the end of it, and that's what's really frightening.
I want to bring in Shin Lays. Shin Lays, I'm making sure that you can hear me. So this question is for you, and it's a very brief response. It's coming from Sarah Tool on YouTube. Do you think, Shin Lays, that this coup might actually be an opportunity for groups to unite against the brutal military? Go ahead.
The coup just created a kind of the coup just revealed the true color of the military. Before, we were so illusioned that under the 2008 constitution, it was directed by the military and accepted by the ruling party, and all of us that we were running elections and all these. So we were illusions to see that we were under democratic transition. But eventually, it was all guided by the military, and now we are truly seeing the true color of the military. And now we all equally accepted that we need to get rid of it. The military already taken over, our political sphere. At the same time, now they are threatening our household and our daily security. So I think, for sure, it creates an opportunity for all of us to reflect what went wrong in the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. It's really difficult, ladies, not to make comparisons between other times when there have been pro-democracy movements in Myanmar and saying, is this different from 2007? Is this different from 88? This is Thetswa Win, who says this is different. Let's have a listen.
The current revolution is very much different from the previous revolutions like 1988 or 2007, because we now have the internet, we now have the social media, and then we all have the smartphones to capture all of the happenings in the country, and then we can upload them to the social media platform to reach out the whole world. And also we have the media which are also capturing and then which are also reporting to the people, timely. And we have the civil society groups which have been defending and promoting democracy, human rights, and freedom for all of the people. So all of the people are now very much enlightened about the freedom and democracy, and we are all dedicated to fight back for all those injustice military hunters.
Our guests today have taken us deeper into what is happening in Myanmar right now. I know you will want to follow them. Have a look here at my laptop. We had Shin Lays, who is on the phone right now because of internet lockdowns overnight. And also, we have internet wins, Femi loses. Kin Omar is here on Twitter, and one more place to go, and this is Ali Fow. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she also tells us many, many stories from Myanmar as well, whether she's in Myanmar or outside of Myanmar. Guests, I really appreciate you. That's all the time we have. I will be back with another edition of The Stream very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.